Your challenge to make a reception area designed for an outdoor activity. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi again, I'm Kimberly, and today we're looking at reception area outdoors. What can we do to make it interesting, stable, so that it doesn't fall over in the wind or get swept away by some exuberant party goers? And I've gone very natural for this design because I find that this has worked very successfully. A little bit of a branch timber, good weight to it, good base weight to it. So what I've tried to do in placing it on the turntable here, and the same as I would do where it was going to be sitting outdoors, is look for where it will naturally sit. So it's happy to be supporting itself in that position. I only need a little bit of a water source, so obviously we're going to use one of the foam pieces out of the garlands. For those of you who haven't seen it, they come in a pack, strung together. You just cut off what you need. In these days of concern about our environment and sustainability, floral foam is not the ideal thing to be using. So whilst you are developing your skills and learning, I think it's probably better for you to use foam to get an idea of placement and structure and the design as a whole, and then start thinking about alternative ways of providing water sources to your plant material. The reason I use the little garland pieces is because they're wrapped in the mesh. It means that there's less crumbling, so there's a whole lot less mess that is not biodegradable anyway, and you use a lot less. So it keeps you from cutting up a block, trimming off the edges, tossing those away. So it's a lot less waste to start with, and it still gives you the ability to design and work out how you're going to put a design together. And then you can think about what alternatives could I use for the foam in this design. So let's get the design done first, and then we'll look at alternative mechanics. Outdoor reception area. We're going to go natural, as I said. I've got a range of plant material to use. Because this is a nice organic shape, I picked some pineapple lilies this morning that also have that shape. Now, pineapple lilies are wonderful for that. They will grow in all sorts of different directions. So it's a good plant to use when you want to have some movement in your designs. Once again, there is a tendency sometimes for us to think, well, it's not perfect, it's not straight, how can I use that? Think a little bit outside the square. Think about how you can use it, not the fact that you can't use it or you need something perfect. So if you're going to follow that organic movement, pick things that can either be manipulated in that way or are that way naturally, whether it's by chance or by accident. So I'm going to turn this around so I can work on the front, because that's where the bulk of the material is going to be. And I will show you as I go through. So let's have a look at our spectacular pineapple lilies. So see how they're going to provide me with a range of ways that I can place the material to use that timber and to provide a mirror of the shape that is already there. Now these are quite thick stems, as you can see. What you could do, because they won't take up a whole lot of water through that very fleshy stem, and they've got a lot of water in them already, so they'll last for the period of your party. But you could put toothpicks in there, at least two, and put the toothpicks into the foam and just have the top of the cut area resting on the top of the foam. The foam, structure of the foam, the cellular structure of the foam will block a lot of the water going into this sort of fleshy stem. So often it's a better idea to use the toothpick method. Sorry. Let's see what other interesting shapes we've got. We've got a few, so because they're nice and floppy, because I picked them a couple of hours ago, I can have that one draping over the back, so that often on an outdoor area, people are going to be looking at your design from all around, so make sure you make it interesting all around. So even if you've got your water source on one side, bring your plant material over to the other side. this one. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at how I can bring the clay material down over the sides of the, without it looking too obvious. So I want it, so it's about where the stem's going to go into the foam that I'm actually measuring on this side. So like that movement, just flick of the wrist and it's gone. Now at the moment that's going to sit too high, so I'm going to have something that pulls it down, or I might leave it that high and just bring other stuff down underneath it that brings it around so you can see. So I'll show you so you can see. So it's going to sit that high at the moment. I can bring other stuff underneath that'll come down a little bit further, and that just mirrors the shape that's happening around the design. Now we've got another spot there, but if you're looking from one side you might find that a little bit unattractive, so I'll see if I can find one that can go over into that area as well. Bound to have something. It's got a nice look at that one. So from that side there's some nice interest, it's sort of twining around, it's looking very interesting. That one might just hold itself there for a little while. So from that side it looks good, from the front it's looking good, but we've got a fair bit of bulky material here, so we want to do something to feature that area and to make it exciting. We've got some agapanthus heads. I'm just going to, again, these are ones where it would be good for you to use the toothpicks rather than the stems, because the stems are quite bulky. You're going to take up a lot of space in your foam and they don't need to. So let's make a focal area here with these agapanthus heads. Looking at, staring at me in the face, and I couldn't see them. What we've done here is we've made the focal area something that isn't a flower. It doesn't have to be a flower. It needs to be something that draws your eye into the design. So we're looking at a different texture, mirroring the colours. The dark in the pineapple lily here is picked up by the dark in the timber. So what else can we do there to make it interesting? Let's take, now this one I've taken all the seed heads off, it's much smaller. We could actually trim that into a shape if we wanted to, but we don't need to on this occasion. So I'm going to, because we've got this, sticking up here, we want something that takes away the fact that that's standing out. So I'm going to bring this one up a little bit higher so that it stands a little bit higher and gives you a nice triangle shape. If you were putting a shape over the outside of your design, gives you that nice geometric shape. So we're looking at now the risk here is that I put something in there that stands out and is away and looks like it's separate from the design. So I have to ensure that it follows the line of what we've got there as the focal material. And so our eye is drawn here, down, out to the sides, around, it comes back into the design. That's what we want to happen. Now, at this point, I probably wouldn't put a whole lot more in. I've got a lot more pineapple lilies to use, and I could probably cut them down and just use half sizes, which is dreadful, I know. And many of you out there saying, no, don't do it, don't waste them like that. But they will provide me with a little bit of filler for the back. And I'll show you in a minute what that's done. Because what I'm utilising is that shape, you know, the misshapen form that they have come in, and how that's going to work in this design. So there we have the back of the design, and that's pretty much finished. So I can now work on the front of the design. I know that the back is interesting, and I don't have to do anything more with that. Now all I'm going to do with it now, with this one, is fill it out with a little bit of filler. I've got some woolly bush to use. And I will incorporate that everywhere I can, because once again it's a similar form, but it's a softer looking material, so it gives you a change in the texture. Remember that we want this to be something of a celebration, so we've got to have some things bursting out of the design in that sense. Now here's a piece that's got a natural curve to it, so I'm going to use that to prop up the end piece here. Another piece that's got a curve, so I'll use that to go over the back. And to mask this a little bit, this one. Now, that's where we stand with it at the moment. We've still got this bit that sticks out a little bit, and we've still got a little bit of area down the bottom that we need to do something with. So, in a separate video, I talked about how to make these. This is the palm inflorescence, just cut up and made into tatami mats, and we're just going to drape that in this sense over the back of the design at an angle. I'll show you how that looks. Just to provide a little bit of interest at the back of the design, we're going to do the same at the front. What I might have to do is take out these two, put this in first. It's not and I've rolled it up a little bit because I like the length of that tatami, so I don't want to reuse it in that length. I could make another one, but I'm not going to. So there we have, looking all around it. Now, still a bit of a gap here, isn't there? So, a number of things that we could use to fill that, but what I'm going to use is this. Once again, it's going to mirror the shapes and the material that's been used in the design. This is simply a strelitzia leaf, like this, that has been left to dry of its own accord. I take them off the plant so that they don't get any further damage on them, and you just leave them. They will all dry in all sorts of different shapes, and they are fabulous to use and easy, because all you've got to do is cut it and leave it somewhere to dry. It does take a while to dry, but no special method of drying them. Just let them air dry naturally, and they will turn themselves into all sorts of shapes and convolutions, and so they're really handy to have as just an added little thing to spice up your designs. What we might do is put it around that one. And there. Does that finish it off? Perfectly, with just a simple placement of something that's a bit of dried material. Now, if you wanted to make that a bit more blingy, a bit more glitzy, once again, the trusty wire and beads. You can make this yourself. You can buy it, but it's easy to make yourself. There's so many different sorts of beads available now in terms of the crafting that goes on, but you might as well just grab yourself a little bit of wire, even the wire that you're using, the thinnest of the wires that you might be using for your designs, and make yourself some bead stringing. So it's just a matter of stringing on the bead, twisting it into place, then going to the next one, twisting that into place. And then so we just, as we do with a ribbon or anything else, squeeze it into place, push it down into the design. Don't just place it on the top, twist it around, but push it into the design so that you're not necessarily seeing so much of the wire itself, just the blingy bits, the good bits. And there we have it. There's our finished design for a reception table or outdoors. Thanks for joining me today.